The empirical rule, also called 68, 95, 99.7 rule, provides a way to understand how data is spread around the mean in a set of data that has a bell-shaped distribution, also called normal distribution. So the rule tells us that about 68% of all values fall within one standard deviation from the mean. This means that if you go one standard deviation above and below the mean, you will capture about 68% of the data. About 95% of all values fall within two standard deviations from the mean. So if you expand the range to two standard deviations above and below the mean, you will capture approximately 95% of the data. About 99.7% of all values fall within three standard deviations from the mean. If you go out three standard deviations from the mean in either direction, you will capture almost all of the data. The empirical rule tells you that for bell-shaped data, most of the data, which is about 68%, is close to the mean. The vast majority of data, which is about 95%, is within two standard deviations from the mean. And almost all the data, which is 99.7%, is within three standard deviations from the mean. It is important to note that the empirical rule applies when the data distribution is approximately bell-shaped. Let's apply the empirical rule to solve a problem involving IQ scores that have a bell-shaped distribution. We are told that the mean is 100 and the standard deviation is 15. Our goal is to find the percentage of IQ scores between 70 and 130. So let's start with the mean of 100, which is in the middle of the graph here. And we're going to use the standard deviation to find the lower and the upper limits for each standard deviation. Let's start with the lower limit and the upper limit within one standard deviation from the mean. To find the lower limit, you will subtract the standard deviation from the mean, so that's 100 minus 15, so that's going to be 85. To find the upper limit, you will add 15 to the mean, so that's 115. Now we need to find the lower limit and the upper limit within two standard deviations from the mean. To find the lower limit, you will subtract 85 to 15, so that's 70. And then to find the upper limit, you will add 15 to 115, so that's 130. The last thing we need to find is the lower limit and the upper limit within three standard deviations from the mean. To find the lower limit, you will subtract 70 to 15, so that's 55. To find the upper limit, you would add 15 to 130, so that's 145. The empirical rule tells us that 68% of IQ scores fall within one standard deviation from the mean, so that's IQ score between 85 and 115. And then 95% of IQ scores fall within two standard deviations from mean, so that's between 70 and 130. And then 99.7% of IQ scores fall within three standard deviations from the mean, so that is between 55 and 145. So based on this graph, we know that 95% of IQ scores are between 70 and 130.